Just doing a quick video, not a lot of updating. I went on JW broadcasting for the first time in a minute. And I noticed that, like, the cover page, you go down, there is absolutely no mention of the apocalypse or Armageddon. You know, the mass genocide that God's going to cause according to the governing body. I also got 2 books that I kept seeing recommended on EXJW podcasts and such. Give me 1 second. I gotta go get it, so I'm gonna pause it. I have been out of the Jehovah's Witnesses since like summer of 2008. I faded. And then, you know, the elders just show up out of nowhere. That would have been an awkward situation. I was living in then. They wouldn't have known. I just said it was my roommate, right? It was just a busy season for me, so to speak. But it's amazing. I have been out for this long, and there is still, like, deep-rooted programming. It is, like, super crazy. I still have, like, slight things that are in my mind that rise to the surface, and it's been since back in 2008. So, I'm hoping these books will help. And every Jehovah's Witness's favorite person, Lloyd Evans. I'm like, holy moly. I just had to get this. Leading Jehovah's Witnesses comes at a price. Well, don't we all know that from personal experience? I feel closer to former Jehovah's Witnesses and, you know, apostates online who I've never met than I ever did to a person when I was going to the Kingdom Hall. I don't know if that's like a personal thing, but it feels like we've all been through the fire. Like, we've gone through this brainwashing process, made it to the other end, and we're like, holy moly, we are free, and we know what freedom is. No one knows freedom like a former Jehovah's Witness. Comment below if you agree, because we've gone through the ringer of time or two. I know a lot of us get disfellowshipped and come back, get disfellowshipped and come back. That's not happening with me. There are times where I'm like, you know what, I really miss it. It's like an addiction almost. And it really is. I remember thinking back to, like, right before I got baptized, it was almost like I was getting an emotional high. It produced a feel-good feeling of a high. But it was emotional, like, brainwashing. So that's it. I mean, but then the love bombing stops, you know? Baptized. Man, they are super rude when after you get baptized. Like, it just shuts off. Like, we've got you now. You've fallen into the pitcher plant, now you can't get out. It's like that. There's a guy on TikTok called @TheGoverningBody, and I would like you guys to go over and check that. I have a TikTok as well. It's my name right here, @Abraham Woodrum. It's not hard to miss. You just type it in. I may put the link down there. I don't know. 15 years of therapy later, I still have problems. Yeah, Lloyd Evans. I noticed I had to laugh because the font. It's kind of his way of going with the governing body. Because the font is very similar. You know how, in like Draw Close to Jehovah, how the print is like bold? It's pretty close to the same thing, but it's just enough not to get sued. I have to give it to Lloyd. He's kind of a genius. But aren't we all? For getting out of this, we saw through the lies. Then I got Crisis of Conscience by former governing body member, someone, Raymond Franz, I believe. Yeah, former member of the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. You know, the guys who masquerade on JW broadcasting and act like they're God. Seriously, when I was a kid, I always kind of thought, like, these men are so mystical. Like, I really wonder what they look like. And I remember looking in the Watchtower and seeing pictures of them. I think it was like a 98 or 97 when I was a little kid. And I'd go in there and I'm like, looking at these pictures of the governing body members, I'm like, thinking, wow, these men look so spiritual. And then I get out and I go on YouTube and start seeing videos where they're on JW broadcasting, and I'm like, you guys are like the Catholic Church when they quit using Latin. You have just taken the little bit of mysticism, the little bit of secrecy, the Holy of Holies, and exposed it. Like, you guys have completely removed any glamour that the governing body had through JW broadcasting. The one thing they had, the one thing, was that appeal, that ambience of mystery. It's gone. Completely gone. And now all we have is a bunch of blathering, bloated fools, I guess would be the... But they're not too big as far as light goes, you know. But all they do is blather on. I'm sitting here thinking, I've had circuit overseers that could give talks that would like completely blow your mind. Like, they could brainwash the Pope. I don't understand why these men got so high in the organization when they do not even have basic theocratic ministry skills. Let's just say that. They would have failed at theocratic ministry school. That is how bad the talks they give are. Jehovah! You know what? If a brother, an elder, or a ministerial servant had got up on the podium and gave a speech saying, Jehovah, I could almost guarantee that the elders would have been like, okay, what's your malfunction? Because it's not pronounced Jehovah, it's pronounced Jehovah. It's just, this is my own personal views. Don't take it to heart. And just remember, Jehovah hardened the heart of Pharaoh. I brought that up as well to one of the elders. Big mistake. They marked me. I didn't, for a while until... It's like they have these predetermined clocks in their minds. They're like, okay, brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so did this. So we're going to set a timer for 3 months where they have to make every meeting and be in field service every Saturday and have to get set amount of hours and blah, blah, blah. I remember that. Some months it was so hard to just get them basic 10 hours of field service time in. But like I'm saying, the governing body, they have a pool of brothers and sisters. I'll give them that. There's some sisters that could give talks at theocratic ministry school with the congregations I went to that would like they should be teaching. Not this elder here that is monotonal. The sisters should have been teaching. But when you're operating in 18th century gender norms, there's going to be issues. A thing I did notice when I went in there, I had a neighbor that was a sister. Loved her. I loved her. She passed away. I still love her. About 80 years old. I'm a teenage boy. I see this woman as my grandmother. She has been there since Hector was a pup. Suddenly I'm baptized. I hug this sister and I get in trouble. She's 85 years old. How is there any nefarious intent in relation to that? So out of date. She passed away earlier this year. I don't know what from, obviously. I posted something on Facebook with her obituary and said something, and her family went, woo, crazy. So I ended up taking it down. It's not worth the drama. But they're not supposed to talk to disfellowshipped people. Honestly, I don't know if I'm disfellowshipped. I sent them a nasty letter, but the elders were coming to me. I admitted to the sin in front of 2 elders, so I'm assuming. And then I sent them a letter, telling them I was a pagan. What greater way to say than to go back to where you came from than to say, all hail thy all-father Odin. That's probably the worst thing for them. Because they probably put me along the lines as a pagan. He is an apostate. Pretty much a straight apostate at that point, right? everything but saying all hail Lord Ball. I know we all have horrible stories from going out in field service. Man, I lived in Ohio when I went to Florida, and I went to field service down there in both places. One was kind of inner city, and the other was rural. Rural country. I can't pronounce rural. I really liked working in the country doing field service because you talk to 3 people and get your field service time in. You know, go have coffee. Spend 30 minutes getting coffee. Go to the door. Takes like 10 minutes to get to each house. Oh, it's 11:30. Let's go get something to eat. Let's just say we got done with field service at 1:30. Count 5 hours. Who's going to know? You know, we're honest. We're Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, who's going to think we're lying? And of course, the elders are going to write that number right down. From my understanding, the elders, the more hours the congregation gets, the better it is. I don't know if this is true, but you can write it in the comments and let me know. I'm certain some former elders, I never got that far. I was kind of, physically in, mentally out, PMO, that's it. Yeah, I was PMO. I mean, I got baptized and suddenly I was getting hit with so much negativity from everybody. I'm like 12 years old, 13 years old, get baptized. I don't remember. I actually wrote the date I got baptized in my Bible, and it's not the one I have. Although I can go get it. I think it would be an interesting thing to show you all. So this is the Bible that tells you how long ago it was. Look how beat up that is. You know, the field service, constantly. This was like my first one. I remember running up a huge debt at the books. I forget exactly what it was called, but I ran that up. I got books in every language you could imagine. I mean, why not, right? They're free. I got marked for that, I'm pretty sure. That's probably why they started giving me evil looks. Like, why did you need a German copy of the what was it, Übersetzung auf das something, Übersetzung or something, New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures. It was crazy. I remember I was looking at this and I'm like, okay. I don't know what September 15th, 1981 is, but it's in here. He who is faithful in least is faithful in most. Man, this thing has been through the grinder. It says, oh, look at that. The binding shot, you know, that shoddy printing presses they use. In case a man happens to have a son who is stubborn and rebellious, he not listening to the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and they have corrected him, but he will not listen to them. How fitting. When I got out, I looked back at this and I'm like, even the English is really, really horrible. It says it was copyright 61, 81, and 84. Well, of course they had to update the version of it, right? I mean, their new light came through. Armageddon Wicked. Man, this stuff is faded bad. You are my witnesses. Isaiah 43:10. Trying to figure out why this page has been stuck in here. I don't even know what it was. Revelations. It's probably because right before I got out, maybe we were studying Revelation, its grand climax in hand. Maybe. Maybe not. I remember that was one of the last books that they went through. And then when I came back, when I moved back up here to Ohio, I went to the congregation and everybody was like super rude. They never sent me the disfellowship paper, so when I went home after that, I wrote them a letter and just, do not call me a Jehovah's Witness. That was pretty much what it said. I had a bunch of random psychotic stuff. Why not? I mean, look at this shoddy map. Used to think their artwork was so great, and then that is horrible. It's not very accurate either. Watercolors. Who uses watercolors to draw a map? what was that? I just look at this and I'm like, holy moly, I can't believe how bad the translation is. Rendered from, oh man, look at this. Rendered from the original languages by the New World Bible Translation Committee. Revised 1984. First page of this New World Translation, they admitted they edited the text. I'm pretty sure Jehovah could get the language right? Right there. I mean, he's the one that did the Tower of Babel. The Armageddon. You know what a really fun thing is? Going to the back. Used to have that ungainly concordance they used to have. Vinegar. Why, of all the topics you guys are going to put, they're going to put in this, they're going to put vinegar. Wages. Oh, of course. I watched, I think it was Joffrey Jackson, like 11 minute on JW Broadcasting. Money. We do. I mean, what is going on with them? That is all they talk about now is money. Money. Like, y'all was going broke. Maybe y'all should just close down and wait a while. And what's up with building this, like, movie studio? Like, how? Why? If Armageddon is at hand, why are you building a movie studio that won't be open for years? Makes no sense. It's illogical. And yet, if I was still in the truth, I would be thinking to myself, oh, well, you know, just in case. You know, when we were really apologetics when we were in there, I would have made excuses for everything. Excuses for everything the governing body said or did or was wrong. One thing I remember doing is they gave me the blood card after I was baptized. I remember taking that home. My mom just signed it. Like, it was no big deal. Like, you just signed away your son's life when you signed that card. Like, wow. That is super wrong. And remember, they always use that scripture. Give me one moment. Every verse they use is always out of context. Almost every single time. Matthew 10:35. This is what they would use. Like, when parents would start fighting, or when my grandmother was disfellowshipped, or my great aunt was disfellowshipped, or anyone's disfellowshipped, I remember this being like the major thing. Matthew 10:35. For I have came to cause division with a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a young wife against her mother-in-law. Indeed, a person's enemies will be persons of his own household. I can't be the only one that remembers the elders giving talks on this. It was weird. It's kind of an odd, it's like we, as former Jehovah's Witnesses, have lived in a dystopian timeline. I mean, who really needs this when we can have this? It's the same difference. It's ironic because in George Orwell's 1984, Big Brother is watching you. Or in this fact, it's just the elders and the ministerial servants and every single person who says they serve God. There is no more unsafe place for a Jehovah's Witness than being at one of the district conventions. Because if you're doing anything, for instance, my grandmother was a smoker and was still active. That is what she got disfellowshipped for. My great aunt, on the other hand, got disfellowshipped for something entirely different. What she got disfellowshipped for was she moved in with a gentleman, my Uncle Chuck. She would have married him. But the way the government here in the United States works is, if she marries him, she would have lost her widow pension. So it was either live with a man unmarried to him and keep her pension, or move out and be destitute. I'm sure you know what I'm saying. It's just an odd situation for them to put people in, knowing that poverty is a thing for Jehovah's Witnesses. It is a thing. We, as former Jehovah's Witnesses, know this. I remember, I mean, they are hard workers. You can have no harder worker, but man, it was a lot of brute work. And the thing is, you have intelligent, articulate men and women, and they are doing these menial jobs. I mean, some of these people are brilliant, but they are emotionally blackmailed. PMOs, physically and mentally out. You have PMOs in there that are emotionally blackmailed, who are brilliant, but they cannot leave because they'll lose family members and friends. But are they friends? I don't know. Because every single family member and friend that was still in the organization when I left, cut off all contact. Ironically, my grandmother and great aunt got the last laugh against my great uncle, who was an elder but is no longer because, you know, he passed the age threshold. I think there's like an 80 years now. He's 83, so he's a little elderly. But they got the last laugh on him. He was wealthy. My grandmother passed away. My great aunt made arrangements with my great uncle. She's disfellowshipped, so, you know, he's like, okay, I'll do this. Probably in an effort to use money to emotionally blackmail her to coming back to the truth. Yeah, that's a thing. But he paid for the grave, the marker. So my grandmother passes away. I go there. I do all that. I mean, nobody else is there. It's like completely, it's just me. I'm standing there. They're interring her, and I look at the grave marker, and I start chuckling. I mean, it's an awful time to laugh. But I start laughing because my great aunt and grandmother, both disfellowshipped, had a cross put on the plaque. And for those of you who are not Jehovah's Witnesses, you will not get this at all. But those of you who are former Jehovah's Witnesses will get this. It was their way of saying to my great uncle, who is still in good standing, was never disfellowshipped. Although he passed up a music contract back in the 60s or 70s. Why, I do not know. For Jehovah. From the way I understood it, my great aunt told my uncle that I will not marry you unless you convert to become a Jehovah's Witness. And something like dominoes, the whole family ended up falling into it. I don't know why. Not all of them. But it is what it is, I guess. I guess we all have our stories, our history, and our thing about it. Subscribe, please, if you want to. Comment below. Let me know what you think. Have you had any experiences similar to this? And somehow my hair has gone crazy. Stay safe. The weather's been crazy the last couple days. There's a storm front coming in over Kansas and Oklahoma and down that way. Love y'all. Take care. Remember, nobody's going to love you like you love yourself. Do your research. Educate yourself. We've got this.